Hello. Welcome to today's discussion, where we'll dive deep into a unique film that uses innovative storytelling to explore the beauty and complexity of life through a single, unbroken frame. This is a film that might feel slow at first, but as you connect with the characters, the emotional depth of the story hits hard. Let's break down the narrative, themes, characters, and more to understand why this film is a creative masterpiece. Plot points. The film tells its story through a single frame, capturing generations of life in the same space over thousands of years. It begins in prehistoric times, showing the natural world and slowly moving forward through history. We see flashes of the dinosaur age, the ice age, and a tribe living on the land. Over time, families come and go, showing how the house and its residents evolve. The story starts with a prehistoric setting, beautifully portraying nature's early days. The timeline moves on to colonial families, and then focuses on the young family. The most emotional part is Richard's journey as an elderly man. He cares for his aging father, faces the breakdown of his marriage, and reflects on his life, all within the house. The film ends with a touching scene of Richard sitting with his ex-wife Margaret, who now has dementia and doesn't recognize him. The empty living room symbolizes the passing of time and the end of an era. Storyline. As mentioned on Wikipedia, it starts with the dinosaur era. Eventually an indigenous tribe settles there. Among them, a couple raises children, sharing their traditions. The narrative follows the wife's death and the tribe's funeral rites, highlighting their deep connection to their customs and ancestors. After the tribe, the story jumps straight to the 1700s during the colonial era. When the area becomes part of the estate of William Franklin, Benjamin Franklin's illegitimate son and the last colonial governor of New Jersey. The mansion, located just behind the land being discussed, serves as a backdrop for the governor's actions and decisions. Moving into the 20th century, it shifts to the turn of the century, when a new home is built and becomes the focal point of the story. The first tenants, John Harder, an aviation enthusiast, and his wife, Pauline, live there until John succumbs to the Spanish flu. In the 1940s, the house is inhabited by a bohemian couple, Leo, an inventor, and Stella Beekman, a pin-up model, who reside there before and during World War II. Leo invents the La-Z-Boy recliner before the couple moves to California. Finally, in 1945, after the war's end, the young family, led by Al and Rose, purchased the house. They raise 3 children, Richard, Elizabeth, and Jimmy, within its walls, marking the beginning of a new chapter in the house's history. While the tribe, the governor, and the 2 families play their roles, the true focus of the story centers around Al and Rose, particularly their son, Richard. At 18, Richard gets his girlfriend, Margaret, pregnant, leading to their marriage. Together, they raise their daughter, Vanessa, in the family home, eventually taking it over from Richard's parents, Al and Rose. The house becomes home to 3 generations under one roof, embodying the values of their traditional Christian family. Although Richard and Margaret share a loving bond, Margaret struggles with living alongside her in-laws. Richard continually convinces her to stay, but the issue gradually creates tension in their marriage. In an attempt to resolve their differences, Margaret brings in a counselor. However, the counselor ends up suggesting that they should separate. This upsets Richard, and he angrily insults the counselor and kicks the counselor out. As the years pass, Vanessa grows up and leaves for her studies, while Rose passes away and Al moves out. However, in his old age, Al returns to the house, sparking further discord. Margaret, unable to accept this decision, ultimately leaves the house. Richard, despite the challenges in his life, is a deeply compassionate and selfless man. After Margaret leaves, he takes on the sole responsibility of caring for his aging father, Al. In one touching moment, Margaret confronts Richard, asking why he abandoned his passion for painting. Filled with a mix of frustration and sadness, Richard reveals that his family, their care, and responsibilities have always taken primacy over his own dreams. Al's final moments are among the most emotional in the story. As he lies in the living room, struggling to rise, he reaches for a photograph of his late wife. With a gentle kiss on the photo, Al passes away, leaving Richard utterly alone. In his solitude, Richard finds solace in painting once more. He is shown reflecting on his life with pride, particularly in his daughter, Vanessa. However, by the early 2000s, Richard and Margaret's marriage ends in divorce. Ultimately, Richard sells the house that had been the center of so many memories, marking the end of an era. Then it becomes the home of a black family, Devin and Helen Harris, along with their son, Justin. Their time in the house is marked by the challenges of the coronavirus pandemic. Helen is devastated when their beloved housekeeper, Raquel, succumbs to COVID-19. Devin and Helen eventually decide to sell it. The living room now stands completely empty. Visitors come to view the house, but it remains silent and vacant. Finally, in his old age, around 2022 or 2023, Richard returns to the empty house with 2 chairs, placing one for his ex-wife, Margaret, who now has dementia. He tenderly recounts their marriage, raising their daughter, and a memory of Margaret finding their daughter's lost ribbon. As he speaks, the camera slowly pans out through the window, revealing the quiet, empty house from the outside. Characters. The film's emotional core lies in the characters' development, and beautifully explores each character's unique perspective, style, and personality. Richard, portrayed by Tom Hanks, is the centerpiece. Other significant characters include his wife, Margaret, their daughter, Vanessa, and his parents, Al and Rose, who shape the story's emotional depth. Richard is portrayed as the ideal family man, always placing his relationships and responsibilities above his own desires. Until the end, he remained loyal to Margaret, even though they were divorced and she no longer recognized him. On the other hand, Margaret's character is a modern woman of her time, struggles with Richard's lack of ambition, which makes her never truly feel that the house is hers. She initially struggles with the pressures of living with her in-laws but later grows distant as the family dynamics shift. Her eventual dementia adds a tragic layer to her character. Their daughter, Vanessa, unfortunately disappears from the story at just 16, leaving her character underdeveloped. The film also highlights the challenges of aging through Richard's parents, Al and Rose, showing how they experience the burden of caring for elderly parents and the loneliness that comes with old age. Together, these elements create a deeply emotional, family-centered narrative. And in all, the living room, always the same yet slowly changing with time, represents the family and the evolving concept of home. The house itself becomes a character in its own right, carrying the weight of generations. Theme. Here, movie explores the themes of time, memory, sacrifice, and bonds. It delves deeply into how life unfolds in small, everyday moments that, in hindsight, shape our legacy. The movie shows how, over time, everything changes: technology, knowledge, fashion, people's attitudes, food, rules, and even nature. For example, in the living room, you can see how the furniture, calendar, colors, sofas, and curtains change with time. It also highlights the growth of technology through things like TVs, lights, phones, and other household items. Since this film is like a time-lapse, we get the opportunity to witness multiple eras within a single movie, offering glimpses of countless historical moments all at once. Settings. The lighting, effects, costumes, and props in the movie were all good. The framing stayed the same throughout, so nothing much to say there, but the color palette was nice, changing with the timeline, from warm, vibrant colors in the early scenes to cooler, more muted tones in the later years. However, in my personal opinion, the house, especially from that angle, felt more like a movie set than a real home. I'm only talking about the house here. The open areas earlier in the film looked better. It didn't feel like a normal home but more like a prop. I'm not sure if anyone else felt this way, so let me know in the comments. The editing for the dinosaur era was fine, though it didn't look completely realistic. It was clear that some graphics were used, but it wasn't too fake. The sound was good, but nothing really stood out as memorable to me. Acting. Everyone knows that the star of this show is Tom Hanks, and he has done a great job. He has been de-aged using impressive techniques, making him look younger with remarkable accuracy. In fact, Paul Bettany, who plays his father, Al Young, in the film, is actually younger than Tom Hanks, but these techniques were also used effectively to make him appear older. Robin Wright, who plays Margaret, has also received praise for her performance. There are many other actors in the film, and all of them have tried to give their best. The director of Here, Robert Lee Zemeckis, is known for often blending cutting-edge visual effects with storytelling, which he showcases in this film as well. His decision to use a single frame throughout the movie is a creative idea and an attempt to offer the audience something new. Last thought. This movie is based on the 2014 graphic novel by Richard Maguire. I haven't read the novel, so I'm not sure how closely the film sticks to the source material, but as a film, it's definitely good. While it's not something extraordinarily unique or unimaginable, in today's era of movies, it stands out as a fresh and distinctive piece of work. Many reviews on Google have praised the film, with audiences comparing it to The Notebook and Our Town, but with more brilliance and creativity. Based on people's opinions, this film might not be everyone's cup of tea. It's more likely to appeal to those who enjoy classic or creatively crafted films. Honestly, I personally liked the movie. I enjoy watching such classic works. That's all for today's discussion on the movie Here. What are your thoughts? Do share them in the comments. Bye.